Okay, I hit record. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Enough people are filtering in. I don't want to wait for a bunch of people. Who knows how many will show up? So I figure I can just get started and share with you, the whole roadmap of this game that we've been working on, and hopefully you enjoy it. Again, this presentation is really sort of locked to people that have inside info that are, members of our community. And we gave the link to a couple of other special attendants as well. But this is, obviously, meant to be some alpha for all of our loyal members now. And so later today, or maybe tomorrow morning, just depending on the time, is when we'll release all of this out to the public, for everyone to be able to consume. But if you're here, you're the first people to see it. So let's go. Let's get started. So I'm your host today. My name's Ian Cummings, if you don't know me yet. I'm the founder and CEO of Third Time. I am a 20-year game dev vet. I worked on Madden football for 10 years. I was the creative director of that game. Hi, everyone that's saying hi. Again, remember to say, switch your drop down to everyone, not just panelists if you're chatting. I worked at Zynga and FanDuel and Glue. And I'm also a software engineer. I do a lot of coding for our games as well as design work. So good to meet you all. A little bit about Third Time. We've been operating independently since 2015. It's a team of 7 developers right now, likely to be 10 by the end of the year, and likely 20 by the end of 2022, if I had to guess. We have 5 advisors as well on our advisory board that are kind of across a few key elements there. So, games people, crypto, marketing, finance, and then we even have someone on the board that's actually a real breeder and racer of horses. So that's been really helpful as well. The background of our games, in 2015, we launched Photo Finish Horse Racing. That's been out on Apple and Google since then. Over 13 million downloads of that game. Still maintains a pretty high App Store rating, despite us not really even touching it in the last few years. In 2017 is when we started doing Triple Crown broadcast simulations for NBC. So if you watch any of the races on NBC, you'll see our race simulation at work there in 4K, HD. And then in 2018, we created a horse racing manager game, which is kind of the opposite of Photo Finish. It's a much more managerial simulation game, hardcore, really deep into strategy and breeding and simulation. You actually don't, play the races, you just watch them, they're simulated. Whereas in Photo Finish, you're actually, playing the part of the jockey and whipping the horse as you move down the track. So anyway, that game is a little more hardcore. As you can see, a few less downloads. I think it's closing in on 2 million downloads, slightly less App Store rating. Again, it's also much more hardcore. So the people that are in the know, that have been in this Discord and have been researching, you can kind of see, we're taking pieces and parts and elements of all these games and all these things to build our next product. And so that's what I'm excited to kind of walk you through all the phases that will get us there. So the first phases, which everyone here I think knows pretty well, is the stylish studs and fine fillies. So these were released as PFPs. They breed our first generation of racehorses for the upcoming game. Holders of these PFPs will forever have VIP access. They're going to have in-game benefits, and they will be able to operate sanctioned racetracks in the game. This is a right bestowed to you as long as you are a holder. Of course, if you only hold it and then sell it and you don't have one, then you do not have those rights. And I have future slides that will go into more details of that. But that is basically the first phase, is these 2 avatar projects. The second phase, you can see here sort of the early look at a NFT-based horse racing game, or even it's easier to say ecosystem. So this is a destination website. This is where you can breed with other players. You can buy and sell horses, and most importantly, you enter them into races. And so there are multitudes of races going off at any second of the day, and you're able to stake, real money, cryptocurrency, and earn real currency from those races if you win, or if you place, and all of those payouts, again, we'll talk about later. And then lastly is sort of this notion of a play to earn mobile game. And so, this isn't coming right out of the gate, But I think a key part to crypto gaming, and we think about blockchain gaming in general, right now we have this very loyal and amazing audience that obviously the people that are in this talk are a part of. But opening the funnel to a wide range of gamers is going to help all of us, of course, bringing in more players. And so a big part of that is play to earn. And I won't get into too much detail of that product in this talk, but it's something that we're slating to the latter part of next year as a way for players to basically earn cryptocurrency, possibly even earn free horses. But we also know that it's a really tough economic problem to solve. You can't have people come flooding in and crashing the prices of all of the economy because they're creating new accounts on their phone or whatever it is. So we're taking our time with that one, but we do believe that is the future to make a game really, really, really sustainable. Is going to be opening the funnel. You're not going to be all that successful if you have 20,000 users that are all hardcore crypto only. We do need to bring in lots more people. So talking about this sort of first phase, right? We've deemed it the great mating event, and the point of this is really that we have to seed the horse racing ecosystem with real horses. And we thought we could do what other games have done, which is do drops and keep do staged drops of NFTs and price them higher and higher and higher and higher as we go. But we really loved what we got with the stylish studs. We loved our community, and so we decided to basically make the PFPs the way that you can get into Generation Zero. Again, a lot of you already know this. But the whole point of the stylish studs is to then breed with the fine fillies. There's 2,500 of those being airdropped, for free to all the owners of the stylish studs in a lottery, and the 2,500 after that will be released in public mint. And then, in essence, you as an owner of both can breed these together to produce a racehorse. And fine fillies can only breed one time, so that's kind of a key detail as well. So there will only ever be, a certain amount of racehorses in the system, because the fine fillies are only ever going to be 5,000. So let's just walk through the timeline of that. So the 30th is the hopeful airdrop. So that's only 8 days away. And in essence, if you own a stylish stud in your wallet, that counts as a ticket that you throw into the tumbler. Imagine a big lotto ball. There's 10,000, and we're going to pull out 2,500 studs, addresses, and those people will get a fine filly. That snapshot we're planning to do sometime between 10 a.m. 2 p.m. on October 30th. And then as soon as we get the snapshot data, we will start the airdrop soon afterwards. So I'm hoping, obviously, by the end of the day, that people will have the fine fillies in their wallet from that drop. I've seen other teams struggle with this, so I'm not naive to say that maybe something goes wrong technically, but the snapshot is what's important. Then we'll make sure we do it as soon as possible. And I've earmarked November 3rd as the actual public mint. The remaining fine fillies are released. We're using the fair launch protocol. As far as I can tell, everything has worked fine on that in my local tests, and the target time being 8 p.m. Eastern. I say EST, it's Eastern Daylight, whatever, it doesn't matter. Eastern time, 8 p.m. We would have the remaining 2,500 available via public launch. After that, kind of deem it sort of the trading event. So in November and December, we're not releasing any new NFTs. And sort of the whole point of this is for players to try and get in their wallet the best contained matching traits that will hopefully breed the best offspring of a real racehorse. And we'll have tools on our website so people can preview this. And that's why I say the beta website there is sort of launched. But so if you grab an ultra rare stud with a common filly, you'll be able to see what that does versus maybe a common and a common, but they maybe have really matching traits. They're both wearing cowboy hats. They're both wearing green shirts. You could see what that does, in a rough guesstimation form of what kind of Generation Zero racehorse that's going to produce. And then we imagine early Q1 is when you can actually breed them. That will be the official breeding will be released. I'm hoping we beat all these targets, by the way, but you never know. I try to plan for a little bit of difficulty. But the breeding widget would be released. You could actually start making Generation Zero horses. And once you can mint a Generation Zero horse, obviously the hope is that the game and the racing ecosystem is really soon to follow. Because otherwise, we would just be sitting and looking at them. There will be some amount of time, hypothetically, where you could breed one and sell it on the aftermarket, or you've got time to buy it. There will be some amount of time, but I'm not thinking months, right? I would much rather have it pretty close to ready by the time that's done. So just to kind of give an overview of what that looks like. So after that is all done, after the great mating event, if we want to call it that, there will be 10K styler studs. There will be 8 spooky studs. Those are still out there. There will be 5K fine fillies, and they will never be able to be bred with again, assuming this is all worked out. And there would be 5,000 generation 0 horses max, right? So this is basically how the game would start. In the ecosystem would start. These are the Adam and Eves of that ecosystem. So let's talk a little bit about that ecosystem and the game itself. If there's any questions, feel free to use the Q&A part, or you can drop them in live chat. I'm looking at both here. The Q&A part is better for me to keep track of them all. But anyway, so the tokenomics of this game right now is basically 2 tokens, Derby and Crown. And click back over here. So these native tokens are fungible, and really they drive all the interactions in the game. It can be traded on open exchange. So the point of Crown. Crown is a governance token. It's utilized by the DAO. We'll talk about the DAO later. It's fixed supply. It will not grow. And I guess unless the DAO were to say that we want to issue more. But owners of studs, spookies, style studs, spooky studs, and fine fillies will all earn Crown through airdrops. That rate also increases based on the amount and rarity of their NFTs that they hold. So if you have 100 studs, you'd be getting more than a person that owns only 1 stud. If you had 5 rares, that's more than someone that would have 5 commons. I don't have all the math on this yet. Again, this is roadmap. But these things will, over time, will release exactly what the numbers are as we model them out. But what is Crown for? Crown is basically the sole way to get an officially licensed racetrack. And that license in Crown is how you earn a cut of Crown. Oh, I misspelled that. A cut of, let me fix it. Derby. Earn a cut of Derby. Races and wagers, right? So Derby is the actual in-game token. This is inflationary. It's the in-game currency. Pretty much everything that you do in the game ecosystem is via Derby. And so if you're paying for a race entry fee, if you're breeding a new foal, you're paying someone a stud fee, you're doing that in Derby. And even if we were to say something in a USD value, it's actually being transacted in Derby. So for example, if it was like today's race is $1 million race, you'd assume $1 million, but Derby is actually being transacted in that case. And players can earn Derby a lot of different ways in the ecosystem. You can sell your horses, you can have stud fees, you can operate the racetracks, you can participate in the races, referring new players eventually, wagering eventually, and more. And I always try to put the asterisk on wagering. Wagering is very difficult to do legally, and we find that very important to do that legally. I think there are other products that are not doing it legally. We will. So if you're in a state that does not allow gambling or wagering at all, then it will be locked from you. And that's unfortunate, but I'm not going to put our whole product at risk for just basically blatantly violating the law. So what does that look like? Maybe this is helpful. Please share the PowerPoint meeting notes. That's good. It will be shared afterwards. Delu. So here's a good look at it. I'll give you a little bit of time to kind of process it. But in essence, you can see kind of, this gold is the crown. So out of the treasury, airdrop to holders. They can buy, they can get a racetrack license. They can, run an operator fee for those races. And therefore, they're getting a cut out of those races, right? And so also there's cut going into the treasury, and then you've got kind of the ecosystem running over here in Derby, which is people breeding, racing, betting, and that's where a lot of the flow is going in and out of there. And then the DAO is funded from some percentage of Derby, and to be in the DAO, you have to be an owner. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. And yes, Christoph, the video is being recorded as well. So yes, both will be released. Save questions for the end, of course, but hopefully people are parsing what this all means. Take a look at it. So the biggest question that I think we got over this whole time has been, after the meeting is over, what is the point of holding a stud or a filly? Especially holding multiples of them. And so, we really take that to heart. I mean, the people that bought in on this project at the mint or at the very beginning, or even have bought in at the top of the floor, you are very valuable to us. You're the supporters. And so, it is first and foremost in my mind to make sure that your value does not wane on those collections. And so a key part to me is making sure that, you are treated as a VIP for as long as possible, if not always. And you're basically going to have access to the following, perks and benefits throughout the game. So we'll talk through this a little bit. So the first is, like I call it SSFF club. And if you hold at least one stud or filly, you're in this club. You imagine that attached to your account, you've got a special, badge. And that means, okay, you've got exclusive Discord discussion channels. You're getting early access to features before we release them. You've got discount pricing of things in the store. These things like in-game consumable items, those are all going to be coming later in that free-to-play game. Airdrops, things like that. Our game operates in a monthly season, so you'd be getting that stuff on a clip every month. Again, we'll talk about a little bit later about all those seasons and all that as well. If you have at least 5, you're in the SSFF VIP club, right? So at this point, you actually could get all of these things in the above. You have a higher discount. You have access to higher stakes races to enter in as well. So, you actually can see yourself racing in higher tiers for higher stakes and higher entry fees and higher payouts. And then we start releasing some of the statistical reports that we have on our races to people in this level. So again, you can imagine if you're really into horse racing right now, you can pay for, PPs or something. You can pay for a subscription and get a lot more advanced data out of races. The same thing would happen here, except you just have to be an owner and you're going to get access to that. And then lastly, the executive club, if you've got at least 20, you're looking at 35% discount pricing, all the same things that the above memberships have. And then I think a really key one is genetic reports. So our breeding system, as you can see in our previous games, works off of genetics. And so this is a really great advantage because you can get a preview of what's going to happen of the foal. If you're about to go breed with another person's horse, you'd have a much better idea of the genetic report of what's going to happen for that foal. And again, this mirrors real life. People are paying for advanced genetic reports now, which is crazy before they do breeds. But as the stakes go up and the value goes up of these horses, it sort of makes sense that you're going to go ahead and send it off to the lab and make sure that you don't have any surprises if you can. So then the next part of that, so that's sort of the membership fees or membership benefits. The next part that's really exciting is the racetrack, right? And so you can have a racetrack operator's license that you basically get from us. We operate all of the races now, or will. But if you are a stud or filly owner, then you can use Crown, in essence, staking the Crown to earn Derby off of those races as they run. And so there's more higher stakes licenses, the ability to hold multiple grade 1 races in your track comes from staking or putting in more Crown. And this one we're really excited about. Again, it's exclusively only to studs and filly and spooky stud owners. No one else would be able to have this ability. Along with this is the airdrop, right? So we showed that in the flow chart. But if you are a holder, you are getting Crown airdrop to you at a rate commensurate with your holdings, right? And again, you can use that Crown. And then we also say is eventually in-game and consumables. If you imagine our game, the play to earn game eventually has hay and sugar cubes and carrots. Those would be the types of things that would also be airdropped to holders as well. And then lastly, the DAO membership. So if you are a holder, you are in the Stylish Stables DAO. I like to call the most exclusive club on the blockchain. I have a whole bunch of slides at the end. We'll go through that. But the goals of the DAO, at least right now, of course, people will vote on what they want to do with it eventually. But right now, as the DAO forming member, the goals are, fractionalized ownership of thoroughbreds, actual racehorses, getting suites at real life tracks, getting inside betting alpha tips, and more. So we'll go on that as well a little later. Who made your deck? IBM would like to hire them. I made it. I downloaded a template. I bought it. Okay, so the design of the game, right? Or the ecosystem, if it were. Here's a good look at that screen that I kind of showed. So you can kind of look around here and see all of the elements that would be, right there at the landing page, right? So you've got multiple stakes races that are going off, and you can throw in your horse, join one that you think fits, and hopefully win the pool. Some of the things here listed, we don't really know. Like right here, the prize pool, it says Solana. That would probably be the token Derby, not actually raw Solana. Some of these are slightly early mocks, but and then you can see up here at the top, if you look closely, the track is Fibs Raceway and Gaming Lounge. So that's just, basically someone in the community hypothetically has a license and ownership to this racetrack that's being streamed live on the site. I'll get into the details of this. Who knows here? The one thing that I don't understand or know is how many of the people in this community or on this call are going to play this game versus how many are just really speculative investors. But I hope you all play. But I'll get into the details here of, the reason why I think we're a big differentiator and why I think we're going to succeed in the long term is that we're going to model after real life as closely as humanly possible. And a key detail that I think a lot of people get wrong is that there has to be decay in a game like this. And you can name any other games, I don't need to name them outright, that don't have decay. Then in essence, it's always inflationary and it eventually implodes, right? And so a game like this in horse racing, if you breed the best horse in the world, you breed a Secretariat style horse, the economy is broken if he doesn't go away, right? He has to go away. And that's in real life. Secretariat won a lot of money while he was alive. He made a lot of money breeding while he was alive and retired, but he eventually passed on. And so you really have to have that level of fairness, or else the game doesn't really stand up on its own. So the notion that we're putting in here is that 1 month of our calendar is a season, and every single month, the horses all age 1 year. And basically inside of that month is going to be a 3 premier race calendar, as well as 1 extra, really high stakes race. I don't want to say the word because it's copyrighted, so I'll call it the 3 race champion. But in essence, you've got in week 1, the 3-year-old horses are able to compete, working their way up to that big race, the first leg of the 3 race championship. In week 2, it's the same idea. They're moving towards leg 2. And in week 3, you could try to win the triple race championship. And in the 4th week, some sort of breeders championship that is a final event. Again, we've got things like leaderboards and high stakes, trying to get all the top players competing against each other to see who's really the big winner. And, we really do want it to be almost impossible, like it is in real life, for one horse to win all of these races on the way through their 3-year-old career. Not almost impossible. It's happened, 3 times, 4 times total. And it's happened quite a bit recently, but regardless, it would be quite a momentous achievement. And we always tune the game to, make this competitive. It's not necessarily one horse should win everything it ever races in. The Triple Ian race. I like that, Michael. That's good. Reminder to, let's see, Brandon, Michael, a few other people that are JA, people are talking, use the everyone dropdown, because otherwise I'm the only one that can see what you see. Unless you wanted to do that on purpose, that's okay. So the racing ecosystem is, kind of the heartbeat of the game for us. We're really upgrading what we've already built. And just to kind of reiterate, that horse racing manager game that I talked about in the first few slides, it has run millions of race simulations to date. And it has been provably fair and balanced and tuned. So I feel really great that we're going to be able to bring this over. And, there's a key part of our races is we try to match real life as much as possible. So there's, real parameters about these races that you have to try and pick horses that fit their strengths. You have to breed horses that fit their strengths. So in this case here, you're looking at the surface, the condition, the weather, et cetera. You guys can read that. But you're trying to find horses that, will basically be right up at the edge of being perfect in that area, and try and find, good races that will return the most amount of return that, you're comfortable with staking. So how does that work? You basically find a race. There's a upcoming race calendar. You saw it on the first slide. You pay an entry fee. You're going to, put your derby, stake your derby to claim the spot. Once that fee is paid, all the entrants are locked in. Say it's a 10-horse field or a 12-horse field. It closes. It heads over to the race simulation, job system. And then payouts, we use and have used this question in, or we have used this formula in our games already, which is this Florida thoroughbred distribution format. You guys can look it up on Wikipedia. That's how we found it as well. But basically, the winner gets 60%. All of the finishers below fourth get 1%, and then there's a variable payout in 2, 3, and 4. So, and again, since we're on a shared calendar and it's based on a real life, vibe. In essence, a horse in real life usually races once a week, maybe. And so we compressed our timeline down. So your horse is going to have to recover. He's going to be tired after that race. You can't just keep running him over and over and over again. Again, that's not real. But at that point, you're able to analyze your performance. You're looking for upcoming races, all kinds of stuff, hopefully, that we would continue over time to add that you could do to recover. You could, take care of the horse, etc. Those are coming down the line. So this is the core loop, if you were of racing. And then here's sort of the core loop of breeding. So if you're a stud owner, you choose to retire your horse. You can choose to retire him when he's 3. In real life, that's what Justify did. Justify won the Triple Crown, and his owners immediately retired him because they were scared of him getting hurt. So they immediately retired him and put him out to stud. So as a stud owner, you can do that at any time. You could wait till they finish. Maybe they're 10 years old, they can't race anymore, or you could do it right away. But you select a preset stud fee. You wait for offers, and you collect the derby when the process completes. Right. I'll talk a little bit about full. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to talk about full share agreement, but the point of that, actually, I can just say the point of a full share agreement is if you want to give away your stud for free, you can do so and have half of the foal. So you would be splitting ownership with the mom and the dad horse, which happens in real life. And that's a really interesting one for the gamblers and the people in here. I think I would do that a lot personally, rather than take the money up front. You're saying, well, I'm going to just take ownership of that next horse that gets bred. And when it gets sold, I'll take 50% of that. That's pretty cool. So that's something that could be done. If you're the owner of the mare, you've got a retired female. Again, you choose a stud off the market. You think he's going to create the strongest offspring. You pay his derby stud fee, and you basically have to wait 25 days for that foal to be born. Right. The foal minting. So if you are owning the mare, then you have rights to that foal, assuming there wasn't the agreement in place. But after that gestation period, the 25 days, the foal is now yours. You can sell that foal on the marketplace then if you want, or you can start preparing it to race, which would be ready in a couple of years, which is a couple months, right? And then lastly, the part of that is just sort of the bloodlines and the genetics. So we have a very advanced system. We do not do random numbers and just to pick stuff out. I mean, it's actually quite advanced. It is uses genes. Some of the genes get passed down. Some of them are dominant. Some of them are recessive. And you can tell in our game, you have to kind of work at this thing. Breeding generation after generation will actually continue to strengthen your bloodline in certain areas. So you can keep pushing horses into long distance or short distance or grass or mud. And you're doing that over time. And that's how it should be. And so I'm really stoked about this because, this blockchain, you'll be able to see it. It's actually permanent. All those things are really cool about that. So let's just do an example of that. What does that mean? What does a shared calendar mean? So let's say that in April, 2 generation 0 racehorses, the owners decide to retire them and breed them together. So that means that the foal would be born in May. That means the foal starts racing in August. And then in February, that horse is probably going to retire. Maybe it gets another year out of it, or but this is sort of a standard lifespan of this horse. And then now you have from February 22 to June 23 to breed until your horse heads to the afterlife. And I know this is tough sometimes for people to think about because NFTs and blockchain feel permanent. But again, you can't have a game that doesn't do this, a game that works for the long term. They have to get moved in and out of the system. Secretariat had to move along. And I'm pretty excited about this because it's still a really long time. From February to June, it's however many, 16 months of breeding. There's a lot of breeding that could be done in that time. and a lot of revenue can be generated from that horse. And so that feels like eons in crypto right now. But so anyway, it's not permanent, of course. The horse doesn't have a lifespan, but it's still pretty long right now. So this is the kind of slide of like what is Gen 0? So the Gen 0 horses are 3. They're going to come in because we need to be able to be racing. Right out of the gate. We don't want to have a bunch of foals and then there's literally nothing for anyone to do because the foals can't race. So the Gen 0 horses are the first ones into the ecosystem. They're responsible for all the future bloodlines. That's kind of a key detail. And I think the huge advantage of these guys is that they are the first set of horses available to breed. So since they're first into the ecosystem, there's going to be quite a long time here, at least 3 months before another set of horses can come in and be ready to breed, right? Before their offspring are ready to breed. So you really do have an early advantage if you happen to be a Gen 0 horse holder. But I love this chart, which was shared by one of our community members, is sort of the modern explosion of the genetics and bloodlines of the modern thoroughbreds. And that's basically where you're starting. When you have a Gen 0, you're in the middle, and now everything's going to come outside of that. So, okay, what time is it? 12:30. All right, I'll try to go fast because I know somebody had to go. So the DAO is sort of the last part of this. Again, super excited about. This is my favorite of all of these things. The game stuff, we built a lot of that stuff before. We're going to bring it over. It's going to be awesome. But the DAO is super neat, just because it's such a brand new concept for me. So, the purpose of this, just part of the deck, is just really to kind of explain what are the goals of this DAO, and hopefully we give over control to the community, of course, in this DAO. So, there's some guidelines that we want to talk about. If you don't know what a DAO is, I grabbed this from, the internet. You can look it up as well. But the point of the Stylish Stables DAO is really, a few things. There's, exclusive membership. There's a bunch of things that you can do, like with the Racetrack license that we've already talked about. There's voting rights, and then, putting up proposals for what to do with the treasury. Again, you guys can read all this yourself. But the point is, to give something over to the community that has a lot of real value for the holders. And these are some of the things that we've really pushed in hard on. And so the DAO funded from the game's treasury at some percentage. Again, I don't know exactly what that's going to be. We'll figure it out. But I want Stylish Stables to own a horse. That's like number one. Stylish Stables should be able to purchase a real thoroughbred. We will bridge this gap of being a video game that is sort of out in the bizarro world to start becoming a real player in the industry. And second with that is the suites. And so I would love, again, the DAO to own suites at major tracks, at all the Triple Crown races. And so if you're in the DAO and you can get a ticket to Louisville or wherever, you up to Belmont, then you can show up with your, as I said, flip-flops on and your fedora and ready to party. On top of that, the pooling of the race wagers, this sort of becoming a gambler's paradise where people can work together, make larger bets, as well as have in-depth horse racing knowledge. This sort of a lot of tippers working together to try and come up with bets together. I'm really excited about this as well. And then lastly, I think, what a lot of people maybe are missing is taking care of horses and jockeys. And so there are a lot of great, charities out there to basically take care of jockeys that are injured while they've been racing, as well as the horses themselves. There's a lot of horses that retire from racing that aren't breeding, that are, maybe injured, or any sort of project to kind of make sure that you can rehome and get horses back out into the, much more natural environment as they live out the sunset years. So I think that's the most of it. Let me walk through some disclaimers so no one sues me soon after. You can try. So let's talk about a couple hypotheticals. So the DAO buys a racehorse. The horse wins $1 million, for example. Another one being the DAO pulls together, 10 grand. They hit a long shot trifecta, wins $1 million, right? Show the last slide again, please. Oh, you want to go back one more time? Okay, I'll do it real quick. Take a screenshot or something, Monty Ball, if you want. This will be available later. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to make the disclaimer that this is a nightmare for taxation on pooled interests, right? So who the hell pays the taxes on those $1 million of gambling winnings? I'm throwing it out there because the DAO will need to solve this. and button it up, right? It doesn't mean that it should kill the idea at all. You know, you bring an accountant into your DAO, bring an attorney into the DAO, you guys will figure it out. But it's not like this is an easy thing that all of a sudden, you know, you win $1 million out of Churchill Downs and now you all split it. It just is not going to work that easily. Also, you know, these are all just ideas, so nothing's set in stone. Collectively, I would love the, you know, implementation to be handled by the DAO. Of course, I'll take some sort of executive membership role at the beginning to help stuff get off the ground, but you know, we want to decentralize. That's the whole point, and it's not just my, you know, shadow organization that I run, right? And you know, lastly, that, you know, we did mention that it will be funded by the product, but I don't know what the percentage is. I really just don't know. I have no clue what amount would go in there yet, and you know, that will be determined later once we get models done on the tokenomics. You know, be able to figure it out. And then lastly, kind of a legal one, right? This is just understand the direction. So everything's subject to change, regulatory compliance, all these things. You know, we might come up with a better idea. We're not trying to solicit investment advice. It's just informational purposes only, and we can modify this in the future. So I'm doing my best. This is our roadmap. We're obviously aiming right at it, but this is a vision piece, not a promise. And you know, kind of say that, like, you know, game dev's hard. If it's easy, everyone would do it. It's really difficult. Things can happen and things can change. So throwing that in there. This is not financial advice. So yeah, I'm going to do Q&A. Special credit here, throw out a couple of members that have really helped us along the way. And then obviously this amazing image mock-up from Aced Out Clothing on Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow. And I'll start looking into the QA chat here and see if I can find something here. Okay, so the first one from Moneyball, in the SSFF VIP club, is it 5 studs or fillies total or 5 of each? It's 5 total. So if you had 3 studs and 2 fillies, you'd be in the VIP club. Okay, let's see. All right, next one. Will you be able to lend out your horses to players for yield, like the yield guild stuff? No plans to do that right now. I think that, me personally, I think that stuff is amazing though. As we grow, you know, it's sort of a, it just totally depends on the economy and the model and how many people are playing. You know, if all of a sudden a barrier to entry to a horse is thousands of dollars, which I hope it's not, but maybe it does, before the play to earn game is out, then, you know, I think there's some level of fractionalization or lending or, you know, scholarship program type things that we would need to build. Okay, so let's see. All right, then the okay, the tokenomics one. So can you guys see that one? Yeah. So basically, you know, what are we going to do tokenomics wise? Is that going to put us in trouble with the SEC? So we're consulting attorneys on everything. Everything that I did in this deck has been cleared by attorneys. You know, again, our whole point is to create an in-game model economy that operates itself. There's no external promise of US dollar dividends from holding something. It's about building all our value inside of our economy. And you know, so I can't, you know, I'm no lawyer, I'm no attorney, I'm no accountant, I'm no SEC person, but you know, again, everything I put in here is cleared by attorneys. So, okay, next one. Will Gen 0 horses age the same way as the other ones? How will they differ in their in-game abilities? So the Gen 0 horses do age, yes. I do actually think that we might have to run a month or 2 where their ages get reset before the rest of the stuff happens, just because it's going to be, you know, a beta as we figure things out. Maybe we don't have to do that, but yes, they will age as the others. Why are they different? Again, they're the very first part of the bloodlines. So, you know, if you happen to get a Gen 0 horse that is a perfect dirt racing 10 furlong left turning horse, like, you know, a Triple Crown style horse, he's really good at those things. He has value for a really long time for people to breed with that horse, if that makes sense. And similarly, if you had one that's right turning grass on turf, it races really long distance as well. You know, that's obviously extremely attractive for a very long time. So their in-game abilities change based on just the way our genetics already change. You know, again, if you go back and look at those varieties of, you know, racetrack types and conditions, all of our horses are geared to, you know, be good and bad at certain things. Next question. Will we be able to give our horses steroids? Let's see, I'll answer that live. No. Clarify dates. October 30th is airdrop. To stud holders, November 3rd will be fair launchment of the remaining 2,500. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. The 30th is the airdrop. Snapshot will happen between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And then we will do the launch on the 3rd. Next one. Can horses get injured from overrunning? Yes, they can. That's a big part of the risk, I believe, for players to weigh. I don't think we're going to do probably career-ending kill, like your horse gets killed. That's probably a little too much. But I think that's a big reason though, that why did Justify not keep running? Why didn't Justify keep winning every single race? The risk of injury and the revenue promise of breeding outweighed it. So there does have to be an outweigh there. There's got to be a push and a pull. Okay. Let's see, next one. Do you plan whitelist to stud holders for fillies? I guess that's fillies. No, we're giving 2,500 away to stud holders. That's the whitelist. Okay. Okay, here we go. I really don't doubt your technical expertise, but what is your plan to expand or draw more interest into the community project? So far, the Twitter and Discord is dead, and every other copycat project has more engagement. I'm active in a lot of NFT projects and have to say each community is more engaging than this one. Community members have incentives to spread the word on Twitter. Soul OGs are given an NFT to show the project. I really love the project. Do you think this is something we could work on? Obviously, we're new at this community thing, especially in Solana. I just like growing organically. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't like pumping and paying influencers and having a fake community that blows up because they are paid to do so. If anyone here enjoys getting DMs all day about joining other Discords, let me know. But I think that level of shilling is gross and not real. Now, can we be better at community and marketing? 100%. And we're hiring a team. I actually have a meeting from 2 to 6 today with a digital marketing agency, because we do need to get a lot better at releasing the info that we are working on a regular cadence, right? And that part is hard because we're game devs. We just have our head down. But I think, I look at the launch of this game in Q1 being the end point, not right now, right? So if I go and pay a ton of people, influencers, to flood our Discord, it will be with people that are pissed that we're not doing enough, or they're, upset. They have expectations. They're not even thinking about the long-term viability, right? They're thinking about short-term gains. And that is not what I care about. I want everyone here to obviously gain, since you were a part of the project, but I really don't want an artificial one. So can we work on it? Yes. And I'm not trying to knock you down, because it's a good question. We obviously could have more and more people in here, but I want to do it organically. I don't want to do it negatively, right? Okay. Next question, will horse let's see, I'll answer live. Will horse decay commence immediately upon breeding or only following the first race? No, horse decay and age happens on a clock no matter what you do. Every horse, when it turns, the first of the month, gains a year, right? Okay. Let's see, type, answer live. Is there a limit to how many times you can stud? Yes, but not really, sort of. Again, it's a shared calendar. So whatever a day is in, I always try to do the math, I can't remember, but if we're doing a month, a year and a month, that would be, let's say there's 365 days, 365 times could be happening in a month. So you can do that math, 12 times a day. So there would be some cool down. It wouldn't be every second, but I guess it'd be one every 2 hours. Am I doing that right? I can't remember, but yes, there'd be some limit, but a real life limit. Okay, already answered that one. The injuries, yep. Okay, here, is there a horse hall of fame, virtual tourist attractions for successful horses who have passed away to generate additional revenue? That's great. Sure, the sky's the limit, right? Once we get, obviously it's not going to be there at launch. That'll be a fun part of this, is once we get the core thing going. I did imagine for sure when the horse does pass along to the great big pasture in the sky, we replace his NFT with a plaque, showing his record, his race history, bloodline, things like that. You wouldn't lose. We're not going to delete the NFT out of your wallet. We're just going to change the metadata. Yeah, okay, and that was the next question too. Does the NFT get burned, or is the value maintained? Yes, he's maintained in a memorial type of way. Yeah, right. Okay, do you have any plans to take on capital or investors? If so, would they be buying a piece of third time or the game? So yeah, we're talking to investors. We've been talking for years with investors. And if so, they'd be buying shares in third time, but nothing's solid yet. Everything's going right along. We're doing okay. If we want to scale up when we're ready, we will probably take some capital. Yeah. Q is answered on this one. Okay, that's done. Okay, so let's, here's a good one. Oh, I can't wait to do this one. What's your unique selling proposition versus D-Race? Hopefully look at the slides and that's pretty straightforward. I mean, experience, team, realism, there's a lot. I think that'll come out pretty soon, pretty clear. Let's see. Okay, the big one. Why did you choose to wear a shirt? You let us fans down. That's true. I really apologize for that, Michael. Okay, let's see. Next one, I already answered that one. Here's someone sent me their Twitter handle. I'll skip that. Okay. All right, this is a good one. Yeah, any limitations on in-family breeding? Yeah, in our horse racing manager game, there is that. If you continue to inbreed, penalties will happen as mutations occur. And there's a lot of magic formulas you guys can go out and read about, because in real life horse racing, they do inbreed a lot, but they try to keep it not super close. You know, it's a few cousins away, but they don't want to, do brothers and sisters or kids and parents kind of a thing. So we do have that modeled in horse racing manager, because we saw people doing that, years ago, that they would get a really good bloodline and then they would just keep breeding the offspring with the parents and all this stuff. It's super gross. So we do have penalties in that. When you start doing that, it can mutate and kind of blow up your whole bloodline. Next question, are you any plans to bridge basically the two mobile games, Horse Racing Manager and Photo Finish, together as one ecosystem? I mean, that's kind of the vision. Those two games will not be merged right in, but that is sort of the vision, right? If you look at what we built, there's kind of a fun arcade game, there's an in-depth manager game, and then there's an NFT ecosystem. I would love for people to be able to do all of those. You can envision a world where there's millions of players just kind of playing a quick, fun, arcadey experience on their phones. And then there's a whole sect of people that are buying, selling, trading in crypto on the web, and they need to be in the same environment. I think that's great. Okay, here we go. Do you think a 1 month season is too quick? No, that's tunable, of course. If you allow someone to take a vacation without missing half the season. I mean, again, I'm just trying to think of it like real life. If you leave your horse in the stable for a month, then it's going to be struggling. So, you do have to be dedicated to play this game. And if you don't want to be dedicated, then sell your horse off and let someone else take care of it, right? I think there's got to be something there. Next question, one question. Would you buy my kidneys for Solana so I can get more studs? Nope. Okay, next one. I'm assuming races are raked in Derby. Some percent of the rake goes to the team at Photo Finish, some percent goes to the racetrack owner. Yep, that's right. Do I envision one day all races occurring at private tracks? That would be fine to me. I don't know, because I haven't modeled it yet, nor do I know how many race horses there are going to be and how many tracks there will need to be, right? That's going to be a tricky math problem for us to solve, because we have to sort of plan for lots and be able to scale if supply goes up and down of actually race horses. But yeah, I mean, for us, we imagine we're going to host every single race in the world, and eventually you guys buy them all off of us, no problem, right? Okay. Next question. The trait of NFTs can be updated by smart contract in ETH. Can we do that technically in Solana? Yes. Yes, there is that possibility. You can change the metadata as long as you're the update authority, I believe. So that's something. Okay, next one. Is there a cheat sheet for people unfamiliar with advanced horse racing knowledge? Yeah, that's one thing that we always struggled with our previous game, and something that we would love to have community help build. That's always a vision of mine. There's a great wiki page where everyone can kind of start at the beginning and figure out what to do to widen the player base. Because yeah, there is a lot of knowledge there. I mean, 6 years ago, I didn't really know all that much, and I've learned a ton. So there's a lot to figure out as you get going. But I would suggest try to play Horse Racing Manager. Right, that game is on the App Store. It's extremely similar in its ecosystem to the way this game will operate. Okay, will we have access to the math behind how many tokens are expected to be airdropped based on quantity and rarity of PFP? I imagine so, yes. Once we figure that math out, yes, that would be public. Do you know how long it will take from entering a race to watching the simulation? A lot of that depends on demand. It could only take 2 minutes, but if we have a huge queue piling up, they might have to, get delayed. But at the beginning, I imagine it'll be almost immediate. As soon as it fills, you should be able to just run off to the simulator and then be watched. Next question, what are the marketing plans moving forward to bring awareness? I think I mentioned that one if you missed, but yeah, we've got an agency, 2 agencies I'm taking proposals for. Again, I imagine the finish line, or it's not even a finish line, but the product will be done in Q1. I want to build momentum all the way to that product release, but with weekly cadence and drops on the way there, not drops of NFTs, drops of information the whole way there. Do horse breeders have an advantage? I feel like if I want to be competitive, I should probably study horse racing and breeding. Could I start learning via the current game off chain? Yes, you should definitely, if you want to have an advantage, you could definitely play the current horse racing manager game, see how the breeding works, see how the racing works, and you would have an advantage because it will be very highly modeled after that. Next question, will there be bot protection for the public net? Man, this is a scary one, of course. As a developer, I hate what's going on in the system. The best we're doing right now is the fair launch protocol from Metaplex, right? And I don't think that fixes the problem by any means, but at least I've seen with, say, Rogue Shark or a couple of the other products that have used it, it did for sure spread the amount of NFTs out. You cannot argue with that. It doesn't mean that it's not gameable. I think people are probably going to figure out ways to do something, but it does put a lot of limits in place. And you can see, Rogue Shark, I think, had, a really, really widespread of owners at the end of their mint, which is not the case with a lot of some of these other projects that went out straight. Candy Machine, for example. If you want to learn more about Fair Launch Protocol, I would just say Google that or Twitter it, or there's helpful links someone can post. Will the spooky studs have special genetics? So the spooky studs cannot be bred. They are only PFPs. So they're one-off collection. They were done just for Halloween, so they can't be bred, but they are still VIP passes into the system, right? So they still have value now. And we weren't even sure if we were going to do that. We decided that this week, that if you own a spooky stud, it's actually worth some. Okay. Next question, should the DAO buy a horse? Yes. Okay. Next question, what are you guys using to change the metadata, Altura? So again, it depends for us on the PFP. When we changed the filly from bred to not bred, we can just do that with our own code and contracts, but we still don't know exactly which platform stuff we will use for like big scale metadata changes on the horse. For example, when they all age a month, we still are working on the tech for that. Okay. Next one, will the race simulations be recorded to watch back later? Yes, they'll be watchable at any time. The race simulation is actually just a small collection of data, and then you can watch it on any client of your choice at any time. They're not video files. Next question, sir, could you make fillies drop accessible only for stud owner? No. Next one, will there be a clear indicator on secondary markets which fillies have bred? This one is still in decision of which way we're going to go. The first option is there will be a trait that changes that says, breeding remaining 1 to 0. So if you go and you're shopping on Alpha Art or Magic Eden, you'd say, oh, show me all the horses that have breeding of 1 left, right? The other option, the reason we're sort of worried about that is we don't know if those sites cache that data. So we would hate for, of course, for someone to list it, then somehow breed it, and then now it's worth, it can't be bred, and then you buy one thinking it can and it gets screwed. So we're still trying to tech demo and figure that part out. But if that is the case, then what we would do is burn it and create a brand new one in its place and give it to you that's identical except for the metadata being changed. Kind of the same, but then at that point, this one, the new one would be in a different collection, and so you would know when you search on Magic Eden to only find ones in the collection that, the unbred, the fillies, as opposed to the mares. Hopefully that answers that. Okay, I'm moving my way through. How much time I got left? 5 minutes, all right. Follow-up to investor question. Are your investors crypto or NFT focused? Usually this type of announcement creates a lot of confidence in a project. Yeah, I'm super interested in crypto investors, as well as game-centric investors as well as just really traditional big name investors. There's quite a bit of crypto investors that are just people that just made a lot of money in crypto. We need people that offer, really unique point of view, connections. Maybe they have a lot of experience in tokenomics or something. They have to provide some value. That's the great spot that we're in now, luckily, with the NFT drop and all the support of you guys, is that we don't have to take money just because we need it. Okay, next one. My assumption is a Gen 0 stud can continue to breed many, many times, right? And Gen 0 fillies can be bred just once. That's incorrect. A Gen 0 stud can breed many, many, many times. A Gen 0 filly can breed once a month. Right? Yeah, once a month, 25 days, because they'd have to have the full and then they could breed again. Michael says, so we will know how 2 studs and fillies breed prior to actually doing it. Yes, 100%. You will have it probably isn't going to be a perfect representation of the horse, but a very good one. You would know its strengths and weaknesses. The formula underneath might, the genetics and all that stuff might change a little bit, but you would definitely know this one's going to be better than that one in that combination, or better in that thing. This one's better grass than dirt, for example. Next one, weight. Baby horses can be male/female on a 50-50 basis. I'm not sure I know what that means. Brand new bred horses can definitely be male or female. Yes. Okay, Andrew says, where do you sell the racing horse? Is that on a secondary marketplace or in the game directly? Would it be in Solana? That depends. Right now, we're still talking with different platforms and such. I would love for that all to be in a single spot. I would love for our website be the place you breed, buy, sell. And even if some other secondary marketplace built that for us and it's raw direct on Solana, I don't know, because we're still talking with platforms. Yeah, I still would like it to be inside our ecosystem with Derby, not with Sol. Okay. If you do not have the bandwidth to train, race, and breed your horse, will you be able to delegate to a trainer for a % of winnings while still retaining your horse's ownership? That's a great question. Again, I think about that's a good feature to add probably pretty soon after launch, is the ability to have 2 people in the royalty address of your horse. It's not supported right now, but that seems like a good one. Okay, next one. From Fib, does the track holder have customization control over the racetracks they stake for, choosing dirt, grass, geographic location, weather spread, etc.? I imagine it being a big auction house of tracks that you would choose from. I think that's the easiest, as opposed to allowing people to say, oh, all my races are in the dirt just because I happen to own a bunch of dirt horses and therefore I'm going to kick everyone's ass in my own track. I don't think that's fair. I think it's more or less that we have all the tracks. They have different parameters. Some of them have lots of high stakes races. Some of them have lower ones. Some of them have dirt. Some of them have grass. You can imagine a big grid of all these different licenses, and you can say, okay, that one's worth it for me. Next up, when's Super Bowl ad? Well, let's see, when's the Super Bowl? Let's see if we can make it by then. That's a good idea. Next one, please don't use Rogue Shark as an example. Okay, I won't, sorry. All right, next one. Would you consider pausing races during specific racetrack times in order to not compete and rather partner with them to build audience from the tracks? i.e. Saratoga races in August, perhaps running races in the morning up till 1 p.m. post in Saratoga World, have their races, the real ones, then after. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it just depends. Our game is global, worldwide, different time zones, there's all that kind of stuff. And, we're not right now looking at, partnering. I haven't started talking with any actual real tracks to partner and get licenses to their tracks, but that's an interesting idea, of course. If we said, hey, we've actually got Saratoga in the game. It's a 1-to-1, looks real. And you could race in Saratoga before and after they actually race there. And then, I don't know, on TVG, they show some of our races. I don't know. There's all kinds of partnerships we could think about. It's a good idea. Next question, thoughts about holding a Twitter space bi-monthly moving forward? Yes, I love that. I'm starting to talk about that with community people, for sure. Okay, next one, stud PFPs can only be bred once or just fillies? Studs can be bred in number of times, fillies just once. Next one, my girlfriend called me. I'm gonna say that. Okay. Is there any token pre-sale plan? Yes, but I don't know the details yet. But yes, we would sell Crown early. Right. Okay. Next question. Before we breed the Gen 0 horse, will we get an indication of which stud would breed best? Yes, answered that one. Yep, we will. Answer live. Will you be able to own a Triple Crown racetrack? Well, Triple Crown is trademarked, so I can't even say that word. So I don't know. There's definitely going to be really high stakes tracks that people could have ownership to. Wow, I ripped through 55 questions. It's 1 o'clock, perfect stopping time. Thanks everyone so much for coming. F in the chat. That was really, really good. Hopefully everyone got it. I'll save this, post it later. See you guys on Discord, right? Peace. How do I end it?